Hi, Matthias here. In this video we will take a look at how we can use Piny alongside Lovable. Piny is our visual editor for React that runs in VS Code, Cursor and Winsurf, and Lovable is an online service for building web applications with the help of AI. So here I have a simple toy project that I built with Lovable. It's Piny Adventures, where we showcase stories about our hero, Piny logo. It has very simple features. We can look at the stories and we can also administer them, add new stories, delete existing ones, and so on. So, first of all, a question: why would we want to use Piny alongside Lovable? Because basically it can do everything for us. And the scenario where Piny comes very handy is working with visual aspects of the design. Like, for example, here we have some things that we would want to change, like the logo. This is not aligned. And maybe we want to play with different text sizes, the rounded corners, shadows. And of course, we could do that with Lovable. We could say, okay, make the heading bigger and then wait 1 minute and then say, oh no, make it a little bit more big. No, go back, make it all uppercase. So AI is great for kind of complex things. When you say, oh, I want to add a new feature, let me edit my stories, let other people log in and publish their own, and so on. But when it comes to simple, like design-related tweaks, like changing text size or colors, it's much more efficient to be able to just, point to an element and do the task instead of explaining to AI what to do. So that's why we will use Piny in this scenario. So the first thing we need to do, if we want to edit projects, Lovable projects, by ourselves outside of Lovable, we have to connect them to GitHub so that we can then have a local version that is always in sync with the version on the Lovable. So click on the GitHub icon, and here, after you connect Lovable with your GitHub account, you get the link to the repository on GitHub, and then we copy this to clipboard and go to Visual Studio Code. And here the easiest way is to do clone repository and paste in the link, confirm that, and then we select where we want to store this new project. I'll put it here in my React text, select repository as destination and open the folder. So here we have our project is now open in Visual Studio Code. So first let's get it running. So this is not visible, but I went up into the menu and I select New Terminal. And I'm using Node Version Manager, and I'm selecting which Node version to run for this project. But if you have just Node installed, like just one version, then skip this step. And then we have to do npm install to install all the required npm models. Okay, that's done for 110 packages. And this has nothing to do with Piny. This is just a way how to get the Lovable project to run locally. And then we do npm run dev. This starts a development server. And if we follow this link, we should see our app running locally. Yeah, here it is, just as if we are running it from Lovable directly. Okay, so now let's go back here. We can make this smaller for now. And then it's time to install Piny. So go to Extensions and search Piny. And then we say Install. Wait a moment, and there it is. Okay, so now let's go back to File Explorer. And just to give you an overview, so Lovable generates React projects that are using Vite to compile the source code of React projects into a workable web application with all JavaScript files, CSS files, HTML, and everything that is needed. And the folder structure, that's a typical React folder structure. So we have public, and here we have various static resources, such as images, or like robots.txt. And then we have source, src, where we have the source code of our application. So like app TSX, so TSX means this is TypeScript, it's like JavaScript, but with additional type information, which makes it easier to write correct code without making any silly mistakes. So we can see the app is usually like the starting point of our application. And here we have a bunch of, helper components, and then these are the roots, these are the sub pages of our app. And personally, where Lovable and similar services really help me is coming up with all this kind of boilerplate code, which would be a pain to write by hand, but at the same time it's nothing special. AI services are really great at managing this stuff. Yeah, what else? Okay, and here we have components that are like building blocks of our application, and they can be reused in various places if necessary. So like I have adventure card, which shows a single adventure. And this is JSX, so it's kind of mix of HTML and JavaScript. But if you are familiar with HTML, then this will also be familiar to you. So they're like elements, which are actually like components in this case. So CardContent, and then we have classes and inner content and so on. And some dynamic references, because like here we are not having hard-coded static HTML, but we are like fetching information from the database and then showing them in these components. So in this video, we want to go deeper into how React works or how these components work. I'm just giving a kind of rough overview of how things are structured and where they are located. We also have a Supabase folder that has like configuration information and optional functions that deal with fetching the data from the database. And Lovable projects, by default, they store their information on a Supabase. That's again online service for a relational database. It's very good service, like really takes a lot of complexity out of running these simple applications. So, okay, now we install the Piny extension, and we have here one of the source components open. And now we can just right-click anywhere and select Edit in Piny. So this opens the editor, like Piny, in a separate tab. And we can resize it. So make this smaller or just like hide the Explorer for now to have more workable area. And if I click anywhere in this component, we can see Adventure card is selected, and we can see the structure of the component displayed here. And here we can use like visual tools and inspector to edit it. Now we got automatically, we got the display of the our application in this preview. So, but there can be two reasons why this is not displayed. So one simple reason can be that the development server is not running. Then when we, open Piny, nothing is shown. So we have to run npm run dev. We have to run development server. And then after we run it, we have to refresh the page view to see the preview. And then another reason can be that Piny is unable to figure out the correct URL for displaying the preview. Like if we are using non-default value of the port or of the the host name, then Piny will not be able to display the preview. So in that case, like usually when we do npm run dev, here we get like the URL of the development server, and we could just copy paste this into the preview URL field. But at the moment we can see that the Piny already figured out the correct value. But if that's not the case, this is the solution. Just see where the local server is running and then copy this into live preview field and then say save. But before we look at Visual Select, let's take a look at what we can use with the free version of Piny. Once we have a component selected, so first of all, let's find first of all, we have to find which component we want to edit. So if we want to edit this one, I guess this is AdventureHero, and I guess is an important word here because until we're really familiar with the code, it's a lot of guessing. And especially when AI wrote the code for us, then it's even more guessing because we don't really, we are not familiar with which component is used for which feature of our app. So anyway, I imagine this is AdventureHero will be this one. And if we want to increase the size of the text, we can select H2. And I prefer to use the inspector because it shows me not just, for text size, we have a base size for, in general, for all screen sizes. And then in medium, we are overriding it with text for XL. And in visual, it's not so easy to see the complete picture, while inspector really gives us the overview. And then it's easy to change. So now I made this bigger. But if I want to change the text like in these small cards, then again I have to kind of find which component is responsible for displaying this. And Visual Select solves this issue very elegantly. So now let's go and set up Visual Select. First of all, when we click, it will tell us that this is a Pro feature, so we have two options. Either we upgrade to Pro, or we start a free trial. And here I will upgrade to Pro, and I will enter my license info, which I will hide so that, people won't copy it. Okay, restart. And now if I say click to select, I get the notice that Visual Select is not configured. So yes, let's set it up. And then here, go down to settings into visual selection section. And here we have a list of steps we have to do to get the visual select working. So again, I will display the terminal here, view terminal. I will do Ctrl C to exit to stop the development server. And then we will install the Piny Vite plugin, and that's a very small plugin. The only thing that it does is it injects a small JavaScript file into the layout of the app so that Piny can communicate with the preview. And this is only included in development mode, so it won't affect your app in production. And it only activates when the app is viewed in preview in Piny. So okay, now we have to do some changes to viteconfig.js. But here we have viteconfig.ts because Lovable creates TypeScript files, and it doesn't matter, it's completely the same. So I will update this. Actually, I just updated this information. So here you see it says sometimes this file has other extensions such as ts, so it doesn't matter. It's important like vite.config, and then we go and edit that file. First we have to import the module that we just installed with Piny Vite plugin, and then we will add Piny Vite into the array of plugins. We can do it at the end. So make sure that there is comma here before. So without this, it will be syntax error, so we need a comma. Okay, now we can save it. And we then restart the dev server, npm run dev. No errors. And then here we have test the setup. Everything is working. Okay, great. So now I will hide the terminal and click to select. And now I can, just click on the element that I want to edit, and it gets selected both in Piny and in the code. So this is really super useful way, to find where stuff is defined. Like here we have button, and I jumped straight into the button component. If I want to change this heading, I just click on it, and we see adventure list is opened and the heading is selected. And now if we want to make this bigger, it's again very simple. So let's make it, I don't know, a bit smaller. And then the date could be bigger. What else can we change? So let's go to 100%. And yeah, we can make this maybe more rounded or less. So we have to find where it is defined. So see here we have the card component. And here our card component has rounded. So to make it easier to see, we can switch off the visual helper. So now all the borders are hidden. The element is still selected, just the menu and the border is hidden. And now we can like increase it or decrease it however we like. Or make the shadow bigger, shadow down here. Or make it smaller. This is where Piny shines, really shines, and it's really useful. So, of course, AI could do this for us, but just imagine, typing, oh, make it bigger, oh, make it a bit bigger. No, but make it smaller. It's such a waste of time. It's much easier to just click, and do the changes ourselves, especially these simple changes. So yeah, one more thing I want to show you. So here, this is CardContent component. And like Lovable installs a library of components that are not really part of, our custom app, but they're just used, such as card and CardContent. And when I clicked here, I selected the CardContent, and let's say I want to make this padding bigger. And the CardContent uses some kind of function. So you see, it's not just a normal class string, but it's calling a function that returns the class string. But we can edit this in Piny, just click inside any string that contains Tailwind classes, and then we can visually edit them. But if I make change here, it has no effect. So why is that? We can see here that the CardContent component, you see, it's also using it's kind of merging the default list of classes with classes that were passed on in the instance of the component, like in the place where this component were used. So then if we go into Adventure Card, where we have the CardContent, we can see that, padding is set to 6 here. So if I do a change here, then actually we can see it. In case we are never really interested in the internals of CardContent, we can say here, when it's selected, we can say ignore in visual select. And now when I click like on CardContent, I don't go anymore into CardContent itself, but it just the CardContent here gets selected. So it's kind of, CardContent is now black box. We are not interested into what's happening inside. And this crossed eye, it indicates that that this component is ignored with visual click. So this is also very useful with buttons. Like here we have a button. So now instead of selecting the place where this button is defined, we went inside the button. And again, this is ready-made component. It's not really meant to be changed here. Although we could, like here there are some variants that we can change. Should we do it? So I'll just show you. But first we have to see which variant is this. So let's go to layout. Here we have the button. So it's the variant secondary. So now if we go back into button and go into secondary, and then let's change the background to something else. Oh, okay. We have another thing I need to show you. So let's do it now. So going here, we can see, if we open Tailwind config, we can see that Lovable creates a custom Tailwind configuration for us that also extends the default theme with certain new colors like background, foreground, secondary, destructive, and so on. Some Piny specific, like the project specific colors were also added, border radius, and so on. So it would be nice, right, to include these colors and other properties in Piny so that we can use them in visual controls. And we can do that once we upgrade it to the Pro version. We have here import your Tailwind CSS config. So let's try to do auto detect. Oh, okay, it worked. So config file is like the Tailwind config file, like TS in this case. And then source CSS file is the file that, the topmost file that contains the CSS code that imports the Tailwind base components, utilities, and so on. And in many cases, pressing auto detect will do it for us. So save, and now if I go here into the secondary, this color is recognized as color. And well, this is one feature that is still missing in Piny, because these custom colors are using CSS variables, and then, you know, Piny doesn't know their values, so we just get like the names of these colors. But that's something that I have an idea how to fix. So, but for now, we have these colors here, and you know, they are accessible by name if you just hover over them a little bit, and it's easy to change. So now, oh, okay, that's this button. So I changed admin to secondary to a different color, and you see the button changed. So I guess that this must be primary then. So anyway, so now if I don't like the change, I'll just do undo, and we go back to how things were before. So yeah, when like dealing with buttons, button then is also a kind of component that you would usually say ignore in visual select, because we are not really interested into how the button itself is made, unless we want to change like the primary, secondary variant styling. And in this case, we can just double click on the button here, and we will still go inside the button. But with this component being ignored in visual select, when we click on it, we select the instance of the component, and we don't drill into the component. So that's very useful in this case. So if we would want to, you know, change the text, then we just do it in the code, edit adventure, save, and it changed. Because in Piny you can't change texts, or like some dynamic fields you cannot add. Piny is really focused on two things, on styling with Tailwind and on navigating the project with click to select. And for everything else, you can use the code directly. So that's kind of the best of both worlds. And Piny doesn't try to do everything. It just focuses on tasks where it can provide the most value. So okay, here we see, I would like to change these two button and home are not aligned, and that's probably a flex issue. So I'll go to visual, because we have nice controls for flex, and maybe let's try this one. Align items. Yeah, you see this worked. So now they're nicely aligned. And another thing I want to change is this logo. I don't like it. I mean, it's just pine tree, but I have something better. So, and that's an image I created in public. Public folder, if you remember, is meant for static resources. So here I created images folder, and where is it? Oh, okay, it's, I have to put it back. Just a moment. So here I have a very nice Piny logo that will be perfect for that space. So instead of this tree, I'll delete this. I'll say image source equals, and then public, it's like the root folder. So I don't have to type public here. Public, like the page is already served from here. So actually I just have to say images, and then the name of the file, piny_logo.png, and you have to close the tag and save it. And here it is, you see a small Piny is jumping up and down. And I don't like the animation, it's distracting, so I'll just toggle animate float. And maybe would it be cool if Piny went a bit outside of this circle? So let's try. Let's select the image. And then let's go add class, transform, let's do scale. Maybe 120, 110. More. 25. How about 50? But it needs a bit of shadow, I think. So that will be in filter, drop shadow, normal, large. Well, not sure, that's a matter of personal taste, right? So I will do, I will remove the scale, I'll go back to 100, and maybe I will remove the white background. And no need for the shadow here, because now Piny itself is shaded. Okay, it's good, but we can't really see it. I mean, Piny is still visible, so it might be okay. But you see the value of like the Piny, not the logo, but the app. It's so easy to experiment and to try different things. You know, doing this with AI, I guess, would be, you know, quite time consuming. And also, why give all fun tasks to AI? AI can do boring stuff for us, you know, like coming with all this React code and boilerplate code, and we can do the fun parts. And for me, like this creative tweaking, styling, it's a fun part of a project like this. So, okay, maybe we need a bit of, this is flex, this is flex, let's increase the gap. Yeah. So we solve this problem. There is some issue here. I mean, you see the padding, it's not aligned. So I guess this area here says padding X is, but if you say 0. So anyway, now we did our changes. So how to push them back so that, you know, Lovable gets them and that we can continue with adding new features there. Personally, I use the GitHub desktop app. I find it quite simple to use. Here we have all the changes that we did. So let me say, I could describe it better than I did. Okay, so now it's pushed to GitHub, and if we go now into Lovable, it should figure out that, yeah, external commit. So you see now we have our Piny is here, our like the changes that we did are here, and now we could go and you know, do more complex features again here in Lovable, push them. I mean, it's synced to GitHub anyway, automatically. Every change here is pushed automatically to GitHub. Let's change the font. Change the font. Make it more elegant. I guess the only place where the change has to be made is in Tailwind config. That's correct. And it's always nice to see, you know, what's going on, because then we are more familiar with the code. In case if we want to change something, we kind of get familiar with what it is, where changes are made. So it can be quite educational to watch. So and then CSS was also updated. Not sure why. To add Google Fonts imports, okay. So that's one limitation of AI at the moment. You can see, like, just to add few lines of code, the whole file has to be kind of regenerated, and that's a bit wasteful. Yeah, it's okay. I don't like it very much, but I just want to show you how to, get the changes back into VS Code. So here, when I'm using GitHub desktop app, and I would just say fetch origin. So this will pull all the changes from the remote server. Pull. First it checked, then it pulled. And now if I go into VS Code, the dev server noticed that files changed, then it just recompiled everything and hot reloaded the changes into our preview. So you see, the code is up to date, the preview is up to date, and now we can simply continue and make changes here. So if I go Tailwind config, where is the font? What if we change it? Like on Mac, we have a nice font. It's called Chalkboard. I think I remember correctly. And yeah, here it is. So anyway, that's how to use Lovable with Piny side by side. I think we did cover how to install Piny, how to pull Lovable project from GitHub, how to enable visual select, and then how to push the changes back so that we can continue editing the app with Lovable. So I find this very effective combination. So I hope you also see the benefit of doing that. So yeah, thanks for asking for this. I think kind of guide. I think that's a great idea to do it for specific platforms to show how Piny can be used. So have fun, and until next time, bye bye.